Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm at Ask Isaiah Rhodes. We are dealing with a tough loss in the NBA community, as you guys have listened to on my last episode. Just really trying to really wrap our heads around living in the NBA world without Kobe Bryant, and unfortunately, 8 other victims in a tragic helicopter crash last Sunday. I'm actually here on an episode with an avid Los Angeles Laker fan, Cordaro Rogers. Cordaro's a dear friend of mine. We go back going on 15 years now, so a lot of those debates in the NBA wars that we had was really based on that foundation of Kobe Bryant versus my favorite player, Allen Iverson. So although he was an adversary of mine for 20 years, I thought that this would be a good time just to really ex- express ourselves and really grieve together and get through this together. So, Cord, thanks for coming on the show today.
No problem, man. Anytime. Unfortunately, the circumstances, but we're gonna get through it.
Right. I mean, being a Laker fan, can you go back and just identify when you actually did you become a Laker fan because of Shaquille, or was it because of Kobe Bryant?
Oh no, for sure it was Kobe. For
Right.
sure it was Kobe. No, we know what Shaq, brought to the game, but Kobe came around. I was young. I was what 9, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he came around like right when like to fill that void that Mike had left.
Right.
Mike would eventually come back, but for me, I was just really getting into. Yes, you gotta wait. Watch TV. I was just really about to get into it with Mike, and then Mike was like, I'm done. So I'm
I
like,
did
wow.
enough, right?
So me being a young, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the games, and I see this guy, this young, high flying guy. He got the afro. He was cool. I started seeing him on TV shows. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this might be the guy. So it was definitely Kobe. Like, I understood what Shaq meant, but it was for sure Kobe. It was for sure Kobe.
When we consider, you mentioned him being so young, he came into the game at 17, turning 18, so he basically grew up before our eyes. And you mentioned the experience of having Shaq there. I know from my vantage point, I always considered, just from a trolling standpoint and a competitive standpoint, I always looked at
Sure.
the initial early years of Kobe being somewhat easier compared to my favorite player, Allen Iverson, and even other players going forward like LeBron, and just different, even with Jordan, and just early experiences of having
Mm-hmm.
to carry a bad team early and figure out how to win. Whereas with Kobe, he came into a very, very talented team with Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones. We mentioned
Yeah.
Shaquille. Those are premier talents at that time. But I will say that, for me, even though I didn't like Kobe at that time, I always respected him because of how committed he was to the game, how committed he was to the craft. And when you mentioned Michael Jordan, so much of the next generation after he retired in '98, it was an open canvas to see who would want to take that mantle. And
Yep.
the one thing I'll say about Kobe, and it's very reminiscent to uh, Jay-Z in the sense to say, while there were greats
The
during his
comparison.
time, he was able to stand the test of time. So where you had Allen Iverson, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, that generation, Kobe was amongst the best then. Then the next generation of Carmelo, D Wade, obviously LeBron James,
Right.
that generation, Kobe stood up during that time. And then when you look at what he was able to do on the back end with the likes of Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, he stood up during that time. So to see the longevity with which he was able to be an elite not just elite, but a dominant player, you have to respect his level of commitment. And I feel like with this experience and what we're going through, obviously for you, it's a totally different feeling because you were able to really appreciate him as as a player and like enjoy his performances. Whereas with me, I really valued
Bittersweet.
his work ethic and how the mentality that he carried transcended beyond just being a fan.
Hmm. Yeah, it's and that's what's so it's like unbelievable to see, like, like because everybody didn't like Kobe. You probably hated him because he was lighting your team up. Like
Right. Yeah.
that's probably why you hated him, and just you could see it in his face, like he just wanted to win so bad. Like at he was willing to do anything. So whether you liked them, whether you disliked them, I think that's what it is that's bringing us together now. It's like, wow, he's not here no more. Like you truly don't see how much he meant to you in the moment. It's like, wow,
Right.
like this dude meant a lot to me. Like I hated him, but man, I hated him because just his drive, like his will, like
He never
you have
stopped. He never
right, you
stopped.
have to salute it now. It's like, wow, man, this dude was willing to do anything, give his mind, body, everything to the game, like and then it's even sad because he was just like getting his feet wet into his second journey,
Right.
with the storytelling and the animations and the little shorts, TV series, movies. Like when you think about that, it was, and like his drive, his will, his dedication to it. It was just like, man, he was he was really about to take off in a way that we couldn't even imagine. Off the court, like it's you know. But yeah, it's tough. But we're able to. Me, I'm just trying to move forward, with the lessons, the example that he showed on the court,
Right.
just in everyday life. Just try to be the best person you could be at life, because a friend of mine coined the phrase, and now it means way more. He was still with us when he was like, what would Kobe do?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like,
What would
there's
Kobe
no
do?
question what he would do whatever gets tough, if things get tough, you're tired, whatever. What would he do? He would keep going. And I think that's something that we could all, live by, especially at this time. Hearts is heavy. It's like, what would he do? He would want us to, be strong and keep pushing forward.
Almost definitely. I think a player of his caliber, you mentioned his second life. I think just his commitment to being the best always was able to be transferable at anything. And I think
Anything.
a lot of times, especially players of his caliber, when they retire, they really rest on their laurels. They rest on the fact that they were able to be the best, and people souping them up and constantly reminding them of what they used to be. But one of the unique things I found about Kobe, especially in his retirement, it was that he was able to truly be at peace with everything he gave. This
Yeah,
is a
for
player
sure.
that made 18 All-Star games. He's a 15-time All NBA. He's a 12-time All Defensive Player. He is a slam dunk champion. He won 5 championships, 2 Finals MVPs. He's the league
Yeah.
MVP. He got 2 scoring titles. So this is a player that left nothing to chance. He left nothing on the table. And for me to watch it for 20 years and to truly be engaged with it for 17. I became a 76er fan in 1998, 1999. So to really see him, grow into what he became and then to transition so seamlessly, I think his dedication to basketball was truly a testimony to be
For
from
sure.
age 6 to 37 just hooping. You know, coming from
Yeah.
Italy back to Philly, being a high school phenom, getting
Hmm.
drafted, having to work his way up to becoming elite, then dominating straight through, um, and then to say, "Damn, it's time." He wrote a
Yeah.
letter to basketball. It
Right.
became a animation, and he won an
Right.
Oscar for that. You dig
Right.
what I'm saying? That's
Yeah. It's yeah.
that's
Hmm.
amazing, man. I just
Yeah.
think everything he did, he lived through the game, and
For
it was
sure.
dope to see him pass that down to his daughters as well.
Yeah. Pass it down to not only his daughters, but just the other kids. With him doing the academy, it was just like
Right,
wow, like
right,
all this off of you like leaving the game. You
right.
you you see like some players kind of struggle. You play that long, and then
Mm-hmm.
they kind of don't know what to do. In their next chapter. But he left it out all the way out the table, left it all on the table, and he was like, I'm good. Like I gave it everything I have now. I'm gonna give back in this way. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Now, I'm gonna give back to the youth. I'm gonna start young. He was starting young, like, with the animation, 6, 7 years old,
right.
something
He
that they
wrote
could relate
children's
to.
books. Right,
Yeah, something that they could relate to at an early age, trying to teach them at an early age. It was just amazing to see but how relatable it was, even with him going straight to the youth.
right.
It's like, wow, this is really amazing. Like he was really gifted in that too. It was like, wow, like you could really like do this. Wow, okay. It came as a surprise to me when that's when he wanted to go. You think maybe coaching or something like that, but he was doing that, but just he was starting with the youth. And that was incredible to see. I'm really happy that they have that for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
From there, his legacy is gonna live on through generations. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be able to tell that story through that academy, through the animation. So yeah, it's amazing to see.
For you, obviously following Bean for so long, would you happen to have a favorite era of Kobe? I mean, obviously he has two different numbers, number 8, number 24, but even within those
Mm.
different numbers, even within those two different numbers, there's different eras. There's like two
I,
separate 8s, there's like two
yeah,
separate 24s.
right,
So like
yeah.
what era is your favorite?
I think my favorite era has to be the beginning of the 24 era, because yeah, that was we got to see him like, oh, okay, this is your team now. Okay, what are you gonna do? And he struggled at first. You know, Regularly struggled at first, and we got to see him learn. Like, okay, we got to see him become the leader that he would eventually become.
Right.
But even in the struggling, you could see the lessons learned. Even with him, getting bounced out in the first round a couple of times. And then missing the playoffs one, and then uh was that the trade. I would say that was really like, okay, he might have a shot at getting back to the promised land, the Gasol trade.
Oh yeah,
So I think
Jerry West Bloodshot.
yeah, yeah. That's what I've heard. But that's because you went through everything in that the beginning of 24 to about I guess through the second championship. You've seen everything. You've seen the struggles, and then you've seen them at the top. So
Right.
I would say the beginning of 24 to the second championship. That's my, because you got a finals loss in there. You got
Mm-hmm.
a finals loss in there, and then you have 2 wins. So you was able to see everything. So I think that's my favorite era. So 2005 to 2011. I think that's for sure my favorite era. You got to see an MVP. You know, some might say he should. I think he should have more than one, but he was able to get one. So you've seen everything within those 5-6 years. So for sure, out of the 20, those are the most memorable for me, for sure. For sure.
I
Beginning of
definitely think that was.
2011.
If somebody was to ask me, you know, analytically, what was the best Kobe? I would say individually, the best Kobe is number 8. But
Individually,
I would
yeah.
say not from the beginning, but more so from like 2003 to like 2006. That Kobe, when you go back to,
Yeah.
you know, you got the first three-peat from 2000 to 2002. And during that time, Kobe's really coming into his own as an elite player. But I
Right.
feel like
For sure.
2002, 2003 season, his year 7, his first year he averaged 30. I feel like that year was the first year that he was introduced to real struggle without Shaquille. Shaq missed
Right.
a number of games, and we saw Kobe at his uh, really tapping into his apex at that time. He had the 9 straight 40-point game, and he was
Yeah.
really, really just tapping into it. And I feel like during that year, he was challenged in terms of individual scoring because you had Tracy McGrady averaging 32, you had
Yeah.
Allen Iverson, who
Mm.
prior to that had back-to-back 30s. He was averaging 28. So you throw all of these different things in there, and then now you see Kobe really putting himself in that conversation
Yeah.
of
It was on full display.
not just the best two guard, but the best player. You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Definitely in the conversation at that time. I think he spoke to that too. I think they might have asked him, you know, what, which one was the best Kobe, or which one would he be like afraid to face? And I think he went back to like 2003. He was like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to play that guy."
Right.
He was like, "Yeah, I don't want to play that guy. That guy was just ruthless. He didn't really. He just went. Like I think he spoke to that. So
So
yeah,
so
yeah,
so
that was a fun Kobe.
so that '03 year, he didn't really get a chance to truly finish it out because
Right.
the next year the Lakers ended up getting Karl Malone and Gary Payton, so he had to sacrifice some some
Yeah.
some game just to
Mm-hmm.
acquiesce to the team, and then at the same time it was a cloud over his head with the sexual assault allegations,
Yeah.
which
Tough time. Yeah.
at the time, especially for the entire league, Kobe being the face or one of the faces of the league
One
at
of the
that
faces.
time,
Yeah.
the threat of him being away from the game or being taken away truly it was a challenging time for me because it's sort of like right now where you 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 you're so used to him being there, that polarizing feeling he would give you. You're so used to that, and then the thought of him being away, it just truly crushed me. But he was
I
able to
remember
survive that.
exactly where I was when I heard that news.
Right.
I think I
That
was in
I mean,
summer school, and I was just like,
right. That was that. I mean,
uh,
the when the day he got charged, I literally cried. I cried like a baby.
yeah,
And I didn't even, like I said, I didn't like Kobe in that way, but I needed him there. And, everything happens for a reason. And how the season materialized, you guys actually went to the finals. So I thought that
right,
was, considering everything that was happening,
yeah,
for you guys to get to the finals and then lose to Detroit, I was excited. But
for sure.
I say all that to say that he didn't truly get to tap into '03 Kobe like that. And then when
No,
Shaq
yeah,
when Shaq
yeah,
left, now Kobe says, I have to do it for us to even be competitive. And that's where you saw '05-'06 Kobe. Like
hmm
05-'06 Kobe was everything 2003 was on steroids, and we could
yeah,
go.
for sure.
I
Hmm
mean, we could break down that whole season for 20 years based on how he performed. I mean,
Yeah,
the 62 points in 3 quarters against Dallas, obviously the 81-point game on against the Raptors. We go on
hmm
for days about what performance I think was the better one. I think the 62-point game is the better one. But
hmm
I
I
mean
believe he had the 60 at MSG in that time, if I'm not mistaken, right?
that was in 2008. That was Powell's first
Okay,
year.
okay, yeah,
That was Powell's
yeah,
first year. But to your point
yes,
about 24 though, I feel like the transformation of Kobe had to had to happen through the losses that he took. You get what I'm saying?
hmm
When you lose to Phoenix 2 years in a row in the first round, you
Yeah.
actually are, maxing out as much as you can as an individual player. He did all of that. He carried bad
Mm-hmm.
teams. He didn't win, and now
Yeah.
he's back to, okay, everything Phil Jackson was telling me in my early years, I really need. I really want to win. I might have to win
Mm-hmm.
it in a different way because I don't have Shaq, but I truly
Right.
want to figure out how to win. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You was able to see that on full display, because you don't have Shaq now.
right.
Now you have, Lamar Odom. How do you lead him? Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you make it so that he is, your number 2 guy, number 3 guy? And then you throw in Powell. It's like, yeah, you're Kobe. You know what you're gonna do, but
Right.
to get to that point that you want to get to, these guys have to give you, you know what I'm saying? They have to give you contributions,
And how do you tap into them being their best self?
Right.
Yeah.
You get leadership, you go get Derek Fisher comes back. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
you have that veteran leadership along with you, and these young guys, Andrew Bynums, that was for sure the best time to see, because you got to see everything. You got to see him at a low, and then you got to see him at a high, for sure.
Um, just to really tap into the mind of Kobe and how he was able to navigate certain things. When you go back to the initial era, the first era with Shaq, I think those two fed off each other in a way that they really motivated and inspired some of their best individual performances. But it was more so only to prove to each other how great each other was. So
Yeah.
to your point about Kobe's leadership, at that time he was so locked in on, I have to prove that I'm the best. That
Mm-hmm.
it came to the team's detriment at times, but he
Yeah.
was always, and this is why I always say he was so committed to winning, because as selfish as he was to a point, he
Right.
always was able to reel it in for the sake of winning, for the sake of
Right.
the team.
Right.
And when you get to when he's already established, he is Kobe. By 2004, 2005, you know who Kobe is.
Right.
But that's only gonna go but so far in totality for team.
Right.
So you mentioned bringing back Derek Fisher. Phil came back.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Odom is still there, but you gotta, round out Andrew Bynum's game. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
different, caveats that have to really come together and coexist. And Kobe now as a leader has to be the one that can bring it together. And I think going back to that 60-point performance against the Knicks, if you remember the documentary that Spike Lee produced, Kobe Doing Work,
Yeah, it just came on the other day. Yep.
it
Yep.
was centered around how, Kobe was really not in that particular game. He wasn't all out scoring. He was more so being a conductor. It was a game against the top tier team in San Antonio. You're going against Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu. So you can't just be all out selfish, ball out. You got to be uh, a chess player. You got to make the right decisions.
Yep.
And I felt Kobe in that particular game, he showcased, I can be a much greater leader at the highest level. And he made a point to say, with this particular team, I can be a conductor. I don't have to go out and score 40 for us to just be competitive. And
Yeah.
my personnel is so much better. For
Mm-hmm.
me, I didn't feel that his personnel, I mean, obviously they were better, they got power, but it was more so how he was able to bring the best out of those
His
guys.
approach to it. Yep.
Right, right,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right.
Taking on, being a leader, sort of a big brother, and like sort of like nurturing too, because
Right,
these guys
right,
are younger, so you have to approach them differently. Like with Shaq, Shaq is that. It could be like a tough love kind of thing. Like, yo, come
right.
on,
They going
Shaq.
at
Like,
each other.
yeah,
Yeah,
like, come on, man. But a younger player is not gonna. You gotta nurture that relationship a little bit different. You got to bring them along a little bit differently. So
yeah,
yeah, that was good to see. That was definitely good to see it in that time. Him become the leader that he would eventually, become.
So what was your thoughts in the latter years, 2011 to 2016, how do you feel Kobe? Because obviously you guys had expectations in the initial part to get Dwight Howard. You were supposed to get Chris Paul, you get Steve Nash,
Oh man, I still
Mike
not.
D'Antoni. Like,
We'll
what was
never
that?
get
What was
over that. We'll never get over that Chris Paul thing.
that?
I'm never gonna get over that Chris Paul thing.
You know,
No.
just for backstory, uh, New Orleans traded Chris Paul to the Lakers,
Yeah.
but in the 25th hour, the NBA vetoed the trade because at that time New Orleans didn't have a ownership group, and the NBA had to take over. So they ended up making basketball decisions for a short period of time for New Orleans. And
What was the term they used? A competitive balance.
yeah, the trade that was accepted didn't meet the competitive balance
Yeah.
criteria, and David Stern vetoed the trade.
Yeah.
And
I know.
like a thief in the night, the Clippers came in and got Chris Paul. So not
Yeah.
only does he stay in LA, but he goes to, I don't
The
even want
other
to call the
two,
Clippers
yeah.
an arch rival at that time, but
No.
the team down the hall.
Team down the street. Yeah.
So for that to happen, you know, that looked as if it could have been a championship tandem between Chris,
Sure.
Kobe, and then you still had Pau Gasol at a reasonable ability level at that time.
For sure. That was the 6-1, man. For sure.
That was six.
That was 6 right there. That was 6. They knew it. They was like, nah, we can't do it. No, sorry. It would have been amazing to see Kobe and Chris Paul, but we can't do it. Sorry, guys. You know, this is just not enough. You know, but the latter years, man, you know, with Dwight coming, you know, Steve, very older Steve Nash, you know, I thought they would, you know, get to the playoffs, you know. I believe that season, that was when he went down with the Achilles.
2012, 2013,
Yeah, that I believe they, you know, just knowing Kobe, you know, and his competitive drive. If he was there, I believe they have, you know, they're in it, you know, if he's there. But, you know, unfortunately, he goes that. Was that the last game of the season?
No, they still had 3 games left. But
Right.
that game basically cemented their spot in the
They
playoffs.
needed that game, you know, him tearing his Achilles, but then shooting the free throws on the Achilles to pretty much just drag them into the playoffs. It's just, you know, that's just Kobe in a nutshell. Like,
Right.
you know, like
that whole game. That whole game in itself was a microcosm of the season.
Yeah.
For me, like when you look at that particular year, that's the year where I said, "All right, enough is enough. I gotta respect this dude," because all of the expectations that were heaped upon that team. You get Steve Nash, you get Dwight, Antoine Jameson tried to sneak in.
Yeah, he definitely
You know what I'm
did.
saying?
Yeah,
that was supposed to be a perceived super team. You know, especially during that time, you got, you know, Miami doing what they have to do in terms of, you know, running through the league. And when you get Kobe,
as we thought they would after losing, we knew that was gonna happen. You know,
right? So that year, Dwight didn't live up to the expectations of Dwight at that time, and I felt like playing next to Kobe truly exposed him as a certain type of player, because no matter what you say about Kobe, Kobe is a cutthroat competitor at the highest level. And if you cannot coexist with him on a competitive level, you're going to be thrown to the wolves. And too many times, especially in the early parts of that season, Dwight wasn't living up to his end of the bargain. And Kobe said, you know what? By hook or crook, hella high water, we're going to get in the playoffs. And you guys were under 500 for a lot of that season.
Mm-hmm.
And Kobe, this is year 17, Kobe, age 34, all of the wear and tear. We speak about all of the injuries he played through.
Mm-hmm.
He put that team on his back in a way that a player at that age shouldn't have to.
No, not when you have Dwight Howard,
right. At that time, he was a top.
Yeah, he was the top top 10 player, best big in the league, yeah, for
Right.
sure. He wasn't supposed to be exerting that much energy, but to see him, what we didn't know at the time, but
He gave his everything to
right,
drag them in.
tearing his Achilles and then getting up and shooting those free throws, boy, and then that news breaking later, I kind of felt like how you felt with the court case. It was just like, man,
It's the same feeling.
I was like,
It's the same feeling,
is
bro.
this it? Like,
Because,
this
bro,
this is it? Like,
I remember calling you saying, "Yo,
yeah,
I don't know if you're gonna be the same."
yeah.
You know what I
So,
mean?
and then seeing the the statement he made, like, how am I supposed to come back from this? Like, I'm 34, gonna be 35, but we was able to watch him come back from that. It was just like, wow. Like, so those latter years, I think the basketball community was just happy that to see him there. The Lakers weren't good, they weren't competitive, but it was still just good to see Kobe, and he would have his games where he'd give you flashes of the vintage Kobe. So the later years, I was just I just wanted to appreciate him. I knew we weren't in the race, but I was just like, man, I'm gonna just enjoy Kobe while he's until he decides to hang it up. It kind of felt like he was gonna play like
Forever.
it kind of felt like he's gonna play forever, but then comes 2016 and you go on this farewell tour, and he within that season he has flashes. It's just like, wow, man, like this guy he was really it. You know what I'm saying? He carried the torch well. I feel like Jordan leaving, it was a void. It was definitely a void. Got your Tracy McGrady's, your Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, the quiet, he just, he's there, but, it's not, not tuning in to watch Tim Duncan, but, it was just the latter years. I just enjoyed, seeing him, I was just cherishing every moment he had left. And, it's definitely a sad time in the basketball world. Just the world in general, like, to see his reach, like, see how far he reached is just amazing. It's like, wow, like, I didn't even think he reached this far, You turn on, I believe, I turned on ESPN, and there's golfers wearing Kobe jerseys and Kobe sneakers, and it was just like, man, like, my eyes started to get watery. I was like, wow, like, this is incredible. Like, if you can see this, like, wow.
But see, I think that you said something truly profound just now in terms of him carrying the torch.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kobe was so committed and so purposeful in everything he did. He understood his role. He understood what he was here to do, and he understood it very, very early. Kobe was one of those players. He's like a student that is almost too smart, and it kind of rubs the classmates the wrong way, because you tell them, like, yo, relax, just chill. Like, everybody in the NBA got money, everybody in the NBA is comfortable, and he doesn't care about being comfortable. He truly wants to be the best. And that type of mentality can only be cornered by a certain few: Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, those standard bearers. And Kobe walked in that light. And to be so committed so young, and to follow through year in and year out at a high level, for him to live out the life that he did, and you talk about the reach he has had, I think it's so relatable to everybody, because everybody can draw from it from a different perspective. Whether you're a fan, whether you hated him, or whether you loved him, or how you truly connected to him as a parent, or even a leader. Like, there's certain levels of greatness that he has tapped into, that even if you didn't like him at a certain point, you got to respect this side of it, So he's a very complex and multifaceted individual in that regard.
Yeah. His I know it feels like his, you know, he was only 41, but he was well traveled. He
Yeah, he
was
lived a
well
full life.
traveled.
41
Yeah,
years, he lived a full life.
his 41 is, you know, you probably got to double that, like, you know, for everything that's seen, you know, what he was able to accomplish. You know, his 41 is well traveled, you know, and I'm you know, I'm happy that, you know, his legacy will live on, because, you know, you said so much stuff that, you know, we could draw from. You know, Mamba, he's gonna live on, because now that's gonna be a thing. It's like, you know, what would Kobe do? You know, Mamba mentality, and anything you could do, whether, you know, being a leader, being a parent, just anything, you know, being a friend, like, you know, is you be able to pull from it in any way. So, you know, that's great to see. When it first started, you know, the whole Mamba mentality thing, it was kind of like, all right, like, you know, what are we doing here? But, you know, it's a real thing now. He made it into a real thing. He showed us, like, no, this is what Mamba mentality is. Like, it's not just going out here and scoring 70. It's just being the best version of yourself, you know, in
Yeah.
anything that you do, you know. So that's
The the
great to see.
the thought of Kobe passing at such a young age, the feelings that we get from that, thinking about that, and even with his daughter being 13, um, you know, many people would believe that she didn't even get to see her life, but she lived
Oh,
out her passions. And I mean, this whole experience, this whole time brings me back to last year when Nipsey Hussle passed.
oh
And
yeah.
he was only 33. But when you know his story and you know how far he had to travel to even get to the point that he was recognized at such a high level when he passed, to see him transcend and win Grammys after he passed, and to see how Kobe is already accomplished at the highest level and he passed at a young age, it just reminds me, and I'm sure it reminds everyone else, not to take any days for granted. You got to
Oh no.
compete not against anybody, but more so against yourself to be the best every single day,
Every
even when you
day.
might be tired or even when you don't feel like you have the energy to muster anything. You
Mm.
can give every ounce of yourself to your passions to such a degree that no matter when your day is called, you will be satisfied with who you were and what you did while you were here.
Right. For
Right.
sure. You hit the nail on
Um,
the head with that. You know.
for I mean, obviously you got some things you got to do, so I don't want to keep you for too long, but I just want to thank you for giving me this time. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say in regards to just your experiences as an NBA fan, as a Kobe fan, and even as a Laker fan? What are some things that you take from that experience, and what do you see from yourself, from the Lakers, or anything going forward? What's your mind state?
My mind state is, man. You know, we have a great example of, you know, not only just a basketball player, a champion, you know, all those things. Just we have a great example of, you know, a great human being. You know,
Mm,
we lost a great human being. You know, we lost a great, you know, father figure, role model. So, you know, what I want to do, you know, just going forward, you know, in his memory, is just, you know, be the best person that I could be, whether it be best friend, you know, best parent. You know, that's what I'm taking from Kobe, you know, and his, you know, untimely, you know, passing. I want to be better, not on a, you know, obviously not on a, you know, the scale, but on his scale, but just a better, you know, friend, a better father. You know, I have a 4-year-old, and, you know, hearing that about him, you know, one of his daughters being that was, you know, gut wrenching, you know. So, you know, like you said, just, you know, just live every day to the fullest, be the best you could possibly be every day. And, you know, I hope that, you know, I mean, you see it around the league, like, you know, everybody's trying to be their best versions of this. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, some truly inspired basketball in these next few months, you know. and it's gonna be great to watch. You know, it's gonna be a great to watch as a fan of the game. You know, I'm looking forward to that. You know, because I feel like we're all doing it in his memory now. You know, so that's all. I just want to be the best version of myself every day. You know, live
Thank you,
every day
man.
to the fullest. No problem, man.
Most
Anytime.
definitely.
You know,
I
we gotta
just
make this annual thing. You know, like
yeah, on better circumstances, of course.
yeah, better circumstances. We had technical difficulties early in the
Yeah,
week, but see the young.
that's the
What's
young.
up?
That's the youngin. That's the youngin
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. I
So,
gotta get to him, but
but
yeah, for
again,
sure,
you
man. Thanks
make.
for having me, man.
Thank you. We want to take this time just to send our prayers out to everyone affected in this tragedy, and like
The
Cordaro
Bryant
said, just
family, everybody who was affected, and last Sunday's, tragedy. Everybody that's affected. Prayers and condolences to
most
everybody
definitely,
involved.
most definitely. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Like Cordero said, we got to make this more of an annual, more consistent
For
thing. We got
sure.
a lot more to go on in terms of sports and things of that nature. So I'll definitely tap in and get your thoughts on where the game is going
For
and
sure. For
just
sure.
in sports in
Mhm.
general. So I appreciate you for your time. Once again, this is Ask Isaiah Rhodes, with my guest Cordaro Rogers. We'll be back with much more. Appreciate you.